Alrighty, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Hashtags and Habits podcast. My name is Danny White, and today I am happy to welcome my friend Keocha LaFleur-Anders to the podcast. Keocha and I met last September or August, I think, over a coffee chat, and we really connected on it. It's one of the better coffee chats that I've had because sometimes these coffee chats be turning into sales calls, right? But it's one of the better coffee chats that I've had. Like, we really connected on book publishing, content, storytelling, being minority women business owners, being minority authors. And we've had a number of good conversations about that. So I'm happy to welcome her to the podcast so she can share all of her insights and wisdom with us today. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Danny. And you know what? That was one of my better coffee chats too. So
yay. Yay. Yes, I take that coffee chat as like an example of like how coffee chat should go. And when they start going up to that like sales pitching thing, I'm like, okay, I'm out. We met each other. Goodbye.
Like not a coffee, sipping coffee and talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Okay, well, tell us about yourself. Tell us about your journey into, book publishing and now digital publishing and just kind of like all of the work that you've been doing.
Sure. Okay, so Keocha LaFleur-Anders, and you'll see K in different places. I always preface that because people go, but I'm like Keocha. K stands for Keocha, but K LaFleur-Anders is mainly my pen name. I am a Louisiana girl, but I've been living in Texas for the past 16 years, and my husband and I have 5 children, and we've just been flourishing here. So that speaks to more of who I am, and as a woman, and as a mom and a wife. But what I do is I am a book publisher. We just recently switched over Chestnut Publishing House from just book publishing to more of digital publishing, and we opened a digital publishing imprint by the name of Coffee Milk Media. Both names are tied to my grandparents, so that's a whole story right there. And we're also doing some community events, which Danny and I were just talking about how things evolve in business. Mm-hmm. And now we're community events and with nonprofits and kind of moving in that direction, which I absolutely love because I love serving the community in any way I can, especially our Black and brown babies and with children's literacy and those types of things. So yeah, that's what we've been doing here in the greater Austin area.
That's awesome. So can you explain like digital media publishing versus book publishing? Because I do think that sometimes people have different definitions of like what that means.
Yes. Well, and let me tell you, so I love books.
Me too.
I always give this when people go, why did you move from book publishing to digital publishing? And then I'll talk about the difference. I love books, but the more I've worked with clients who are really into audiobooks and ebooks and website content a little bit, but that's not really our wheelhouse, but online newsletters, those types of things, I realized that I loved them more because books, I will pick up a book, but I'll read it more so out of necessity. I think I told you that when we first met. I'm like, I'm not an avid reader. I read out of necessity, right? Mm-hmm. But I will, while I'm moving around, I will listen to an audiobook. For accessibility, I will hop into especially a short read ebook, something that you can read on your phone. You might not have the physical printed book, but you have your phone, you have your tablet, you have your laptop, and you can read it from there. So digital publishing really is more accessible. I think that's why we chose to go that route. It's more accessible. And it's just fun to be able to publish content in different formats because we all learn so differently, right? And even with video, kind of moving into that too, some people are more visual, so they need video. Some people prefer audio as the audiobook. So that's the difference. So we went from just printed book publishing with the option to have ebooks and audiobooks to digital first. So it's not that we won't print work on a printed book. It's just that we're going to go digital first. And if you want to add a printed book, you can do that.
At the end. Awesome. I like that concept, right? Because digital allows you to move a little bit faster when you're
Mm-hmm.
publishing content. And it can also open up doors for like more feedback, right, to come into your work. So you can improve that work for a printed version.
Yeah.
I think one of the questions I have for you is, why do people shy away from creating content in any format? It does, like, even put aside the printed book, because that is a big lift, right?
Yeah.
But people shy away from just creating blog posts, 60-second videos. Like, why is that?
Other people. I mean, in short,
Yeah.
like ladies that I've talked to, the fear of what other people will think, what other people will say, especially if it's, for example, well, even with short stories, if someone's writing a short story and creating characters, I've had ladies go, well, I think my sister might think it's about her. And so I don't want to publish it because, people are going to be thinking I'm telling our bit. Like it's always other people. From the people that I've talked to, they're shy about it because they don't want to be judged, because you have to have a certain ability to put any work out.
Right. For sure.
Yeah, whatever it is, words, in text or art or video animations, it doesn't matter. Whatever you're creating, you're putting it out there for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get positive feedback, but you may get negative feedback too.
Yes. And it's okay. I mean, yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. Your work is not for everybody. And two, perspective makes a big difference in how you see things. So if someone comes back and, oh, this is okay, it's mediocre, blah, blah, blah. It's okay to engage and go, well, why do you feel that way? Because that might actually help you improve your next work that you work on. But a lot of times we're afraid of what other people will say.
For sure. Like the negative piece of getting feedback from people. What can you do with that information? Because a lot of times people will say, okay, I received negative comments or negative review or whatever, and they'll get on the defensive instead of kind of digging deeper and seeing, is there a legitimate reason for this type of feedback? And how can I improve? Because nothing is perfect, right? Like nothing is perfect straight out the gate. I just, last week, I have my book sitting on my desk. This book has been out since last June, I believe. There is a misspelling right here on the cover.
It happens.
And I was like, people let me actually send this out to them, and no one said anything.
You're like, that was not tell me this.
No, I'm like, no, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
But also, like, I'm working on so many different things at once, right? So that's why the additional like feedback, like someone who's never seen it before, like it can help and be beneficial. But like, how do you take that feedback and put it into action? Is what I think could help.
A good place to start is to make sure you feel solid about you.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that, because as a creative wellness coach, I kind of bring that work into everything I do, including publishing, right? Mm-hmm. My biggest thing is investing in yourself and then watching how that translates into what you do, right? So when you do work on yourself and you feel good about yourself and you're working on feeling more confident, then you will see that misspelling as a mistake that could be corrected, right? With digital publishing, is an easy correction, right? You just go in, republish. For printed, you have to, correct the cover and then republish it. But then people already have the copy that's misspelled. It's okay.
It's all right. It's okay, because people sure got it.
Yeah. I made a mistake. I'm human, right? But that's when you've been working on yourself. Now, if you don't feel very well about yourself, it's going to show in how you receive feedback and how you respond to it.
Yeah.
Because something that's tapping on, you feel judged, you feel like these different things, right? So it pays, especially when you are creating something, to always invest in your well-being, because the reality is you're going to get negative feedback about something that you do. It may not come with this project, it might come with another project, but if you give yourself some grace and work on that, how you talk to yourself, then when you read the negative feedback or comments, you're like, you know what? Perspective. I'm going to take that, apply. So next time I need to be a little bit more careful. Maybe I need a second pair of eyes. Like, you can improve from there because you're not taking it as an attack or some type of rejection or judgment.
Got it. Awesome. How do you feel storytelling can impact like the success and longevity of a business, especially when it comes to brand building and brand awareness and things like that?
That's such an important question, actually. And I'm always bringing it back to you. So your business, when you're building your brand business, I was asking a client, so I'm consulting a client right now. She's relaunching her business. And I asked her, first call that we had, I'm like, I want to know about you. Tell me about you. I want to know your story. And as she was talking about her story, basically what I was listening to was her why, right? Why she even have this consulting business and education. It's tied to her personal experiences. So it fueled her. The things that she went through, both positively and negatively, fueled her to create something that she wished she had, so that she can have this for now for families and kids that's going through what she went through when she was a kid and with her family. It's important that your story is connected to that, because that's what's going to drive you. And I know we hear all the time, what is your why? What is your why? But your why is very important, and it helps tell the story. It sets the foundation for the story of your brand. I think when you start a business, it should be connected to something. Like if you're just chasing money, it will show up like you're just chasing money.
For sure. Yeah.
But the why, there's a story that's connected to it, then the storytelling of your business becomes personal, and it becomes intimate, and it becomes relatable, because there are other people that are going through the same things as you. So your brand tells the story of you. That's how people get to know you.
For sure. So a lot of times, I think sometimes people feel like their story is not as good as someone else's. And so they either suppress it or they try to embellish it a little to make it more engaging or interesting. What are some of the questions or elements that you go through with your clients to get them to dig a little deeper, and asking them those leading questions to get them to tell you the type of information that builds a good story?
You know what? Because I work primarily with women, I don't necessarily have to ask too many questions.
Okay.
Because I feel like I was just telling my husband yesterday, I feel like sometimes, I guess because I write journal prompts all the time, and journal prompts help you answer your own questions, right? That's what
for sure. Yeah.
When you're writing a journal with prompts, you think you're just going to answer the question, and next thing you know, you're like, well, just answer the question directly. And next thing you know, you're continuing to write, and you go, oh, well, that's why I think that way. I literally, when I ask women to tell me about you, what's your story? I want to know all about you, what you love, like what brought you to this work. And they all start from when they were a kid, or like, well, we used to live, and they keep talking. And in the midst of them talking, they're answering their questions. I'm just typing up like keywords that they're saying, that maybe things they keep repeating. And I'm like, okay, so that's important to them. That's an anchor for them right there. I haven't really had to ask them many questions, because I just let them talk and I just listen. And then they end up answering their own questions, which is the part of the work that I do that I love, because I'm here also to support. And I may ask a follow-up question, but they're actually answering the questions themselves. Like,
yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. Yeah. And it also shows that sometimes we just need somebody to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah.
or a thought partner, someone who you can just sit down and just spill it all out, and they can be your sounding board and bounce things back, because we know a lot of things, we know, but sometimes we need people to remind us or to help about things differently. So yeah, it's been women, we like to talk anyway for the most part. How much pulling teeth that I have to do. I just need to be able to listen.
For sure. Absolutely. So you do a lot of community building and working with nonprofits. How does storytelling kind of contribute to building that sense of community, whether it's in person or it's online or it's around a specific topic or theme? And, just help to foster deeper connections with customers and clients and things like that.
You know what's so funny, especially in the nonprofit world, because a lot of it is, everybody that I work with are very community centric and heart centered. The storytelling helps other people, whether they're working in the organization or they are the community that is being served, feel as if they're not alone. Because once you start telling stories, you hear different things and go, oh, well, that I resonate with that. That's similar to what I went through. And so the community building, I think I love community building, because then you bring in people, or people are attracted to a particular project or organization or event because they don't feel alone. And that there's so much community in storytelling because your stories are similar, or even if they're different, right? The differences in the stories, that's great too, because you're learning something you don't have experience with, but you're learning about it. So now you get to see things from other people's perspective. It boosts your empathy, your understanding of different cultures. And like, those are the things my team and I are learning as we're working on this one project right now. It's like, you know what? Some of these people have differences and some of them have similarities, but the storytelling is like, I can resonate with that. Oh, I've never dealt with that before, but I understand why you are the way you are with your personality. I would be like that too. That community building part of storytelling is beautiful.
Yes, weaving all the experiences together is,
it's so beautiful, which in itself tells a story, right? And it's important to tell our stories to each other.
For sure. Going back to your start in entrepreneurship in general, like, what was the moment that you said, okay, I'm going to go and build this business, and this is what it's going to do. This is the impact it's going to have in the world?
Well, first of all, I joke about this, but I was working at Dell Technologies for 7 years. And then I was just like, kind of after COVID, over it. It was just very overwhelming, very stressful. And I kept saying I was going to, I'm going to quit. I'm going to quit and put in my 2 weeks notice. And I didn't. And they broke up with me first.
Aww.
But it was cool because, they had global layoffs pretty much seemed like every quarter. So I knew it was coming because it was time for me to go, right? It was time. I knew it was time. I just didn't have the courage to let it go. And so I had already started my publishing company, but wasn't full force into it. But it had gained enough momentum to where when I lost Dell, I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna do this thing. And I jumped head first with what I knew to do. And I did a little bit of research, but really I'm kind of a hands-on person. Like, you can teach me something, but unless I'm actually doing it, I'm not really retaining it, like talking about. Like, I heard you, but right. I touch it and do the things. But it wasn't until, like what I said earlier, it wasn't until book publishing was cool, but I was like, book publishing is not me. Printed book, that's not me. What are the things that I love, right? How can I connect my story to this company? Because it's already connected to my grandparents. So that's connected to me anyway. How can I do that? And once I did exactly what I was passionate about, things are evolving in a way that I didn't even plan for, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my flow, and I'm just so grateful for that. And that's actually what I would encourage other entrepreneurs to do. You can go by the industry standard and do everything that everybody else is doing. That's cool. But what is it that you love? What connects and resonate with you? Because you're
Mm-hmm.
doing it, and you
Right.
can't do it the same way that other people do it, because that's other people's like vision. That's other people's formula, if you
Mm-hmm.
will. You have to find your own
Yeah.
formula.
How do people go about doing that? Because I do feel like there's so much information out there. Like there's now, even now after COVID, especially,
Yeah.
there's so many businesses that were built during COVID because of layoffs or because of people didn't have anything to do. And people started exploring like their hobbies and things that they do on the weekends, right? And turning those into businesses. But that's not necessarily something that they're purpose driven in, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times it became like a money play to get more money because they had been laid off. How do people go about like going with the flow until they find that one thing that is just for them?
It's going to take a few things. I always talk about finding your own formula and flow.
Mm-hmm.
As I workshop I lead on the wellness side and for
Right.
business, because as I said before, what works for other people, it won't work for you. And you
Mm-hmm.
can tell when it's time to shift because you get overwhelmed in what you're doing. Like it's too much. I've been there. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like too. But getting to know yourself, acknowledging the things that you love, disconnecting as much as you need to, unplugging, finding time for stillness, going hiking, or whatever it is that you love to do that brings you joy and peace and rest, where you can think, getting off of social media for a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
just sitting, so figuring out. And I'm always going to promote writing, because writing for wellness is my jam, right? Journaling. If you My friends tease me all the time. I used to just purchase journals and be like, oh, it's so pretty. Or like a planner and just have a whole bunch of them around, and then, start writing in it and move to the next pretty planner that I see at
Mm-hmm.
Walmart. But writing always helped me. If I thought about something, I'd write it down, but in order for me to do that, I had to learn how to get quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn how to really sit with myself and really start on the journey of healing, being serious about growth, because it's not just about the growth of your business, right? What good is your business if it's growing and you're not?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're moving into growth in your business, but you still over here, like you
Mm-hmm.
have to be growing too. So it makes a huge difference to invest in your well-being.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a huge difference. That's how you discover what you're supposed to do. So that's always going to be my go-to. I'm always going to say, you invest in yourself,
Yeah.
find out more about yourself, unlearning some things that you were taught by people who, through no fault of their own, were
Mm-hmm.
unhealed, that taught you things, that questioning that, challenging that, is that right for me?
Mm-hmm.
Like sitting with yourself and really getting to know yourself and being more aware
Yeah.
of who you are and what you feel, like your emotions. We deserve that, and we need that as business owners. We definitely need a well-being practice to get to know ourselves better.
For sure. I always tell like small business owners that I talk to on the regular basis, like your business and even the things around you can only grow to the extent that you're growing.
Yeah.
There's really no world in which everything else grows without you because you're the center of you're the center of what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of a wellness practice, I think that this is a good way to wrap up the conversation. Um, Small business owners are busy, like wearing a lot of hats, as you know, right? Like it's always something. Always something. So how do you create the time to develop a routine and integrate a wellness practice, even if it's simple to start, into your life so that you can grow and become, the person that you're meant to be. Because like a lot of times we have these ideas for our business, like we want it to be $1 million, $10 million, we want it to grow into 8 figures, we want to have this and do this, right? But we kind of neglect ourselves, to your point of getting there, and we have to become the person in order to get that thing, right? So what would you say is a good way to go about creating a wellness routine?
Well, the key word that you just said was time. And you and I talked about time too, right?
Yes, eliminating all the meetings.
Like, please eliminate some of these meetings y'all are in. So I did this. I wrote down all of the things that I was doing, like all the services I was providing, all the clients that I had. Like, I just started brain dumping. I love that about brain dumping, especially in the morning. Morning pages that's a great journaling practice. Like if you wake up already overwhelmed and you have like buku stuff on your mind, get pen and paper. If you have your tablet or laptop handy, that's fine too. But there's power in the pen and paper. So don't underestimate the power in writing with your hand, and just dump everything out. Then you don't have to do it then, but come back to it and be like, okay, I could not be doing that. That's not necessary. I can scratch that off the list. I can table that for another time. I'm not even ready to offer this service. I can and start eliminating things and prioritizing things and make room for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you are a small business owner, you're doing all the things. And if you're a solopreneur, you are sales, you paying invoices, so you're bookkeeper, you're like the marketing, you're everything, right?
Yeah.
So we get into this routine of waking up in the morning, thinking about business, doing business, and we do it all day. And sometimes at night, we're not sleeping, we're not walking, we're not eating properly, we're not eating at all. Sometimes you all day and go, oh my God, I didn't even eat today. It's like 4:00. Like that's not healthy for us. So it is going to be important for you to really prioritize and take some stuff off of your list. We don't have to do everything. And if you're married, that's hard. A hard concept to grasp, because I wanted to do every idea that I had. I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to implement that, until I had about 3 friends that was like, I don't know what you're doing. You need to slow down. I can't, all this is great, but I cannot follow you. Like, I don't know what you're doing. I can't follow it, because then you like jump on something else. And I went, I am doing that. So right now, eliminate some stuff. Some stuff it's not even for you. It could be for somebody else. You have a conversation with them and go, oh, here's a great idea. And that's for, like, you don't have to, especially like if you're consulting, not every vision or idea that we have is for us. Sometimes that'll be for our clients.
Yeah.
So I would say, in order to really implement a wellness practice for yourself, you have to make room for that.
For sure.
You cannot spend all of your time on your business. It's just too much. And if you're not here, or if you're not healthy, then the business won't run anyway.
It won't run anyway. Yes. I always say, like, you can have all the goals in the world that you want to have, but if you're not healthy enough to achieve them, then they're pointless, right? Like, you can make all the money in the world that you want, but you will be spending all that money on your health at some point. So it feels like a catch-22 sometimes, because I think sometimes entrepreneurs, we don't know how to prioritize, because we think everything is important and everything has to be done right now, which is a whole topic for a whole nother conversation. But creating this wellness routine, like whatever that looks like for you, is really important. Like, even if it's just decompressing and not being on social media, turning off your phone, shutting down the laptop for half an hour a day, that can be like the start to something that is more advanced and more progressive, and that is just becomes part of you. It's not even something that you have to think about.
And I want to add this too, because you said about the laptop. Give yourself a cutoff time. Like, 3:00, I'm closing my laptop. I will get back to my clients tomorrow. And one thing I would encourage people not to do, and I made this mistake, and now I'm getting ready to change my number. I know.
I just had to tell a client last week don't call my personal phone. Like we don't have that type. I don't know you like that.
I, I get it, depending on what type of business you have, right? What type of service you provide. I get that where people, but I am now like, no, get a Google number. If you have Wix offers phone numbers, but have a business line where
Yeah.
it is like, so you're not texting at 6, 7, 8 o'clock because somebody has a question. It's not, the weekend is yours. If it's yours, like if this is your time on Saturdays, then you won't have anybody interrupting you. It's important to set boundaries too, to where this is your time. You have to have your time.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Boundaries is also another thing that we struggle with. Priorities and boundaries, like the need to help everybody all at once, like everybody that comes to us, and the need to execute on every idea that pops into our head. Like I struggle with that as well. I have a whole notebook of ideas, and I have to become okay with the fact that every idea that pops into my head is not mine to execute.
Yes.
And and I think that kind of like builds back onto the point of prioritization. Like what is most important right now, not what is most urgent, right? We have so many themes and topics that we can talk about. But I know you gotta run. I want to wrap up the conversation with 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes of like your most valuable advice for business owners. We talked about so much, but if you had 2 minutes on a mic to give like your most valuable advice, like what would you say?
Take care of yourself. Like, you deserve to be a priority. Because listen, I was telling Danny this. I have a shirt that says all peopled out. Right. And you can love people as much as we love people. Like, we love people, right? People are a lot. And the energy that you give to others, especially if you're the type of person who, oh my gosh, if you're a people pleaser, then it's even harder, right? Because you just want to just be there for everybody. But if you're naturally a nurturer, if you're a good listener, if you like, it's hard for us sometimes to detach and just say, okay, but this time is for me. But I'm going to say, take care of yourself. And I'm going to be bold enough to say first, right? Because you take care of others, but how can you take care of other people if you're not taking care of yourself? The growth of your business, or even if you're in the even with scaling, that takes a lot of energy too, right? Transitions within the business, delegating, dealing with different people, even within like on your team or your clients, with different personalities, different cultures. So they speak a different way. And then, it's just like so many things. But if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not prioritizing, if you're not setting boundaries, if you're not being still, if you're not taking time to be quiet, if you're not getting to know yourself, if you're not chasing healing, if you're not chasing peace, if you're not pursuing it, if you're not willing to grow, if you're not willing to take care of yourself so that you can see things from a different perspective and not take it as an emotional attack, right? All of those things happen in business, and you have to be able to take care of yourself first, and then watch how that translates into what you do. Either the healthiness of your business. And then even when conflicts come up, oh, it's time for me to draw back. You're still running a business, but maybe you're not as visible. Maybe you out of office replies on, hey, for the next 2 days, if you don't have an assistant, that's okay. Tell your people, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. There's going to be a delayed response, but you have to take care of you. And what I've noticed to close is that my clients actually appreciate the fact that I'm very transparent and honest about the fact that in order for me to be creative, in order for me to do what we're collaborating on, to work on this project, whatever, I have to be able to take care of myself. So take care of yourself. Be easy on yourself. Give yourself some grace for the mistakes that you're going to make, for misspeaking, for typos, for whatever it is. Give yourself some grace and take care of yourself.
I love it. Definitely some practices that I need to put into place as a business owner for sure. Where can people learn more about you, your work, work with you on digital media publishing, and find you online?
We can connect on LinkedIn. I think I've told Danny this so many times and I haven't done it yet. I'm trying to be more visible on LinkedIn. So we can connect on LinkedIn. And on LinkedIn, you'll see it as my name is K LaFleur-Anders. On Instagram at K LaFleur-Anders, KLAFLEURANDERS. And Coffee Milk Media has more of a presence on Facebook, and that's a little bit intentional. But Coffee Milk Media is Chestnut's digital imprint, so you can follow us there. And coffeemilkmedia.com. We're working on a new website, but you can also connect with us there too.
Thank you so much, Keocha, for joining us today. This has been a really good conversation. It's always good to chat with you and get your insights. Your perspective on different things is very refreshing. But thank you for joining us, and thank you all for joining us and listening to this episode. Share it with your friends, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. Keep anything below to yourself. This is the only way in the podcast world that we know that we're growing. Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you, Danny.